So we got this ticket request in from Mike Jones. And we can see here that overall summary, we need to basically help our audit team out. And within our Palo Alto, what they're wanting really is for us to set up a service account via an API key as opposed to just a straight username password. This will be the name of that admin user. And then we'll just quickly figure out how to sanitize the XML, the output. Down here in step 3, we need to also quickly build a Python script that queries the running config and ensure that it, sanitizes the sensitive creds or the passwords, etc., the secrets, and we'll attach it to this ticket here. And then second, we need to generate that API key via the CLI. So without further ado, that's kind of what we're up against. So let's go ahead and get it. All right, so we're already here inside of our Palo Alto. So let's go ahead. We'll go over to device. We'll set up that username. So we'll click administrators. Let's go ahead and just copy and paste that from an audit perspective to ensure we got it right. Kind of like on the exam sometimes, if we need to ensure the capitalization is correct, we'll just go ahead and hit add paste. So this will be the name. We'll give it a brief description for anyone that comes behind us on the team. And this is to assist audit team with API requests, something simple like that. And then of course for the authentication profile, we don't have any, so we don't need one for now, but we'll skip the password. Let's do role based. And let's go ahead and we'll set up, we got an API role, but let's go ahead and set up a new one. We'll just call this one service _ audit _ role, I suppose. And then description, this one we can just put, again, assist audit team with API requests. And this is where, there's different flavors, varieties. Here with the web UI, if someone were to log into the console, it's kind of, you can see here on the left-hand side, subdued in the background, the various options that they have there. You can get granular to not, give super admin credentials. But if we click here in the XML API, we can also, export would allow them to do the secrets, which we'll see at the very end. But for now, let's go ahead and give configuration and operational requests. Some of those CLI commands, they will need these at a minimum to do. We'll click OK. And that should be what we got here. Actually, to make that API request, we do need to give it a password. But of course, the Python script itself won't have it. And we'll hard code it for now. We know that's not best practice, not the password, but the API key once we get it. So we'll click OK. And then we see we have that there. We have our description and then our profile. Go ahead and commit this. This is created service _ audit _ automation. Well, actually, we cannot put underscore. Just put audit automation user and profile. So we'll hit commit. So we're kind of almost there. We'll let that commit. I like to hit close and then pop up a new task to kind of have that status be here. But while that's happening, let's go ahead and open up a new PowerShell console, bring it on over here. We can see our, of course, IP in the GUI. So we'll bring this down for that to register. All right, so the command for us, we're going to need to do a curl. So we'll do curl.exe. We'll do -k to skip any of these TLS SSL errors. And then, of course, -x because we want to change it from the get, the default, to a post. And then we'll put our URL. Let's see, what is it? 107.20 20.175. I know I just said copy and paste to, make it easier. We need to hit that API endpoint, and then type will equal a keygen and user equals, I wonder if I could right click. There we do. We do still have it. And password equals, what did I make it? I made it something like that. And see if we get something. All right, so success. So we got that success there. And that's our key. So we'll grab that. And then we'll come into our script that we already have pre-populated. Pull this one on over. All right, so this again, not to go through it all, but high level, this is, if we had a list of targets, we can see here it's just a simple firewall. Again, no HA pair. So these are going to be within this sort of like dictionary. That's the name, the IP that we already pre-populated. We need to paste the API key here. Pretty long, of course, as you can guess. We typically wouldn't hard code it, but just for this simple lesson or learning, we would do that here. If we needed to do any additional ones, it would be here. Backup directory here on our local machine. It's going to be that. Again, if you want to, this was a S3 bucket or something like that, you would do that accordingly. But we'll see here shortly, once we do successfully download it, the type is config. This would be where we would need to change that to export and ensure we had kind of like an admin or super user, which we are creating this underneath an administrator, but we limited it from the RBAC or the roles, the access. So we need to modify those two things. So we'll just hit Control S and let's minimize this. And all right, that pushed because we got the key. So good to go there. We'll clear the screen and let's just do, actually, let's cd into desktop, Python, what do we name it? Palo.py, I think. Yeah. So if we run that, we get the output that it contacted the primary, which we saw there in the stanza down below. I know I didn't go over every line. Success, which is the message. This is, the conditions on whether there was an error, 200, etc. And it saved the config there. So now if we cd into, Firewall backups, we'll go full screen here. And then in Windows, it's type as opposed to echo. And what is it named? Firewall. Yep. And so we'll see here the slew of output there. But so we successfully went ahead, we created a user and we kind of limited the amount of permissions that it had with creating that role and attaching it to the user. Third, we went ahead and made a request for an API key, and we saw here in our script that we inserted that API key and we're communicating with it, making requests to the firewall now, leveraging that API key. If we scroll on up here towards the beginning of that request, we'll see that, let's see. All right. So this is kind of the beginning of that running config, but we can see here these p hash, like, again, this is quote unquote like a sanitized version that is not outputting the true value of those secrets for these accounts. That telemetry user, open config, you saw that admin, test user. Of course, we just created that. So that's what we see here. These are those 5 accounts of the admins at the top. So we've accomplished our goals there. So if we were to come back into our ticket, we of course earlier did number 1, we validated this just now. Number 2, we of course successfully, we had the success code. If we go back and just scroll up a wee bit, we can see that the response was, like a 200, it was a success. And then down below, we'll go ahead and, we won't do it here for the purpose of the video, but we'll, in production, we'd attach the ticket and we'd give our message for here, basically explaining that, we were able to successfully create the account, maybe put parentheses and then the explicit name there. We could do some validations and things like that, but this isn't like a risk registry or anything where we need to step through. It's not a pen test or anything like that, but always be able to put enough in that summary such that if anyone came behind you the next day or even a year later, that they could read through what you did and kind of conceptually understand what was done. You don't need to give them a 10-page paragraph, but don't give them just a one-liner like complete or done. Give them enough to be able to understand what was done, and of course the script there. If your site allows Python, you may need to zip it if that file extension is not permitted in your ticketing system. But that again was success on this ticket that we have here. So we're gonna close this one out here. After we document it, like we said, we'll resolve it. But again, I want to thank each and every one of you out there again for rocking here with us. We truly do appreciate the support. If you found value in this, would love to hear you down in the comments below. Just let me know what you thought, any questions, any requests, etc. But until next time, stay safe, take care of yourselves. Peace.